Well, let's talk about influences a little bit. Let's talk about parents. Were they into music? Mom, dad. Where does this love come from?
Definitely, my parents were into it. My dad, of course, the old country junkie. Everything was Johnny Cash or it was shit.
Yeah, well,
if it wasn't
if it ain't Johnny,
yeah, Merrill might have snuck in there a George.
Willie Nelson. I like some of his songs,
but then they found out
the Highwayman.
Yeah, my mom's side of the family actually had a kind of a country band too. They specialized in a lot of
so they played
old country.
Too?
Yeah,
oh,
actually,
wow.
it goes as far back as my mom's dad was the original bass player, and he played fiddle. And my mom's sister's husband, my Uncle Clyde, was the lead singer and lead guitar player for a long time. And my Uncle Ronnie was in the band, and they had a couple other members join in, and they used to play almost even at home Friday nights. We're just hanging out at the house having beers. We're just going to pull out the instruments and play. And many a nights like that had a huge influence on me.
The old washboard and the mouth harp and
there were times they actually moved into my parents' old house. We moved out of it, and they moved right into it. And there was a night they were celebrating, and they broke out washboards and everything.
The spoons and everything, man.
They're all Oklahoma, so they're all
the old whiskey
jamming
jug
down. Whiskey jug was playing, and 3 or 4 guitars.
That's the jams I like. Not the free-for-all with our instruments, but the jams where you're just sitting around and just making noises with a bunch of shit.
That's what I miss about the childhood with music. That's where my love affair really comes from. Is just all the.
Well, what did you gravitate towards then when you started buying your own stuff? I mean, did you?
Well, my parents were pretty strict. They started making me listen to like old 50s and 60s stuff as a little kid. But when I actually started buying, I aimed right up towards the AC/DC albums. I started dipping into bands like Copperhead. And I kind of started. My oldest brother bought his first rap album, which was Onyx, and then the next thing I know, my other brother is listening to rock and country and hip hop, and then next thing you know, it just kind of all blended into my own head, and I've got Weird Al and ZZ Top. I got them all playing in my head all
in
my
head,
so
boys.
There's really no limit to what I like to listen to myself. I can't stand that boy band bullshit. But
I always find you can learn from everybody. I mean, everybody's a musician. We're all kind of the same people.
Yeah.
And you can. Michael Jackson. I don't care what you think about him, but the guy who took over the world.
Dude,
he took over the world. I mean, obviously you learn something from that guy. How do you take over the world? Well, let's watch this video.
Whether you like the music style or not, there's something to be said about their artistry. And
my boss at the studio in LA said treat everybody the same because we're all the same people. Somebody's luckier than others. And it really falls into that. Some of you are in the right place, at the right time, and things can happen.
It'd be more worthwhile for me to stick around Billings and try to make the scene better here than move to LA.
Well,
try to be some big shot.
It'll come to you if it's your time.
And now probably more.
I mean, you can put yourself in a position maybe where you're more readily available or whatever, but it's still only going to be your time. If it's your time, I think.
Right.
And everybody kind of seems to think that that's what you got to do, but you can honestly, this day and age, you can sit at home and do it all on the internet and blow yourself up as much as you want, and it doesn't mean shit.
The sad part about it is that's the medium that the 12, 13-year-old kids are gravitating.
Well, that's what they think. They think they make a funny video or make a little song. YouTube blows them up.
That's the worst part,
And when there's quality out there, when there's
about
something
subscribers
that's viable out there, it probably gets overlooked because people still look at that platform as not being credible.
Very true. Well, if they haven't heard of you, they don't mean shit to them, and you can't hardly get them through the door.
Even if they have, I don't know if they can
invest enough time.
I don't know if they can invest enough time. I don't know if they've got enough time to invest because they're so stretched and pulled in so many different directions as far as entertainment. When I grew up, we had 2 channels, maybe 3 if you did the tinfoil thing right. We had music. We had the theater played the same movie for 2 weeks straight.
Everyone in your Fox viewing position.
I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to light fires. You're going to blow things up with firecrackers. Sorry to all the frogs we caught.
Sorry, Mr. Frog.
Couple garter snakes, a dead loaded beaver.
Many dead loaded beavers. Oh yeah.
So I think that with the choices now, music it's harder to make it just relevant, make yourself relevant.
Yeah, that's the hardest part is trying to be relevant.
I think some of these younger guys are just tearing themselves apart trying that. And I'm not bragging, but to be able to just relax and not really read into it too much, and for us, like I said, we're some of us are in our mid-30s, some of our drummers early 40s, so we're not really. For us, we're not making that big push to go try to be on tour and be rock stars, but we just
tour Greater Wyoming in a station wagon.
And these younger are guys. We bat, and that's why we
10 cities in 10 nights.
That's
man.
right.
Right. Well, we let a lot of these other younger bands headline. Not saying we let them, but I mean we basically offer it to them when we book a show. Is because of that. Hey, you guys,
we don't
you guys
play
are,
up till
yeah,
Yeah,
and we don't want to play after midnight because we all got to work in the morning.
Shit's
we're
got
good
sour
still.
breath.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, just we respect that those guys are making their run at it. I mean, there's quite a few bands here in town that are good.
Well, it's
and
really exciting. I just got back into this whole scene. Last summer, I got freed up a little bit in my personal life when I can. Well, I don't have to be home for anybody. I don't.
There you go.
Nobody's like waiting on me, or
Right.
you know, I don't have a
Alarm
curfew
clock,
anymore or whatever.
yeah,
So,
come home,
you know, I do have to work in the mornings. You know, so sometimes I can't stay as long as I want to, but sometimes I can't leave either. Sometimes I'm like, God damn it, I want to go, but this band is. You know, the last one that did that to me was that band out of North Dakota, Egypt. Is that?
Oh, me
Oh,
too.
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
totally. I'm like, I gotta
That
go
was
home.
late. Me
Sleep.
too. I couldn't
God, I
stop
can't walk
watching.
away from
Yeah,
this
I
guy.
wanted to go to that.
You know?
I
Yeah,
was
I
wondering
enjoyed
how it
those
was.
guys
And
a lot.
that hippie drummer, and he's just back to like Charlie Watts, and
Oh,
then
it
make
was awesome.
an expression on his face the entire night.
Yeah, that was clean rock and
Awesome.
roll, man. It was clean rock and roll.
Dude,
It was really
the guy
good.
had like a pink Les Paul, dude, and he was just tearing the shit out of it.
Yeah, it was good
And,
music.
uh,
They're actually doing a Europe tour right now. They're over in Europe right now.
Really?
I follow them,
People
yeah.
should listen to that shit. Cause
There are, and I want to say they got together in the late '80s, and they've been crunching for,
Yeah, I can-
for
they
almost
had
30 years, man.
yeah,
That's
they had
crazy.
been together for a long time. But speaking of guitar and tearing it up, well, I mean, where do you come from on the guitar?
You know, my parents didn't have any musical influence either. My mom played clarinet, I think.
Yeah.
But I have an older brother. He's 3 years older. He played trumpet.
So he poisoned you probably
So
with all
I
that.
think, you know,
He
I
scared you
started
away
playing-
from the old iron.
Here,
blow
get
horns.
on the brass, boy.
No,
Get your ass on that brass, boy.
I did the whole band
You waiting
class
for-
and
Yeah.
stuff through school, but I started with the xylophone. I started percussion, you know, like I said.
Yeah, you were saying that.
And I grew up all through in Texas. Texas is big for the football
Oh yeah,
community and the
high
marching
school.
bands,
Oh, yeah.
which
Or
my brother
you
was
probably-
in all the time, was the marching bands. So when I hear that drum line and those guys hitting those four tom racks, it sparks something in me. So
Just
I,
don't do a remake of Tusk.
I
Please
won't.
do not do that.
I won't. I
No,
haven't,
one
you know,
marching band per millennium is fine.
My
in
mom
records.
loves that song.
I-
hate that song.
My dad honestly did a lot to try and kill the music mood because being a drummer, you have a drum kit in your garage. He's like,
Not
Are
the
you
quietest
done
kid
yet?
on the neighborhood.
Yeah,
even
neighborhood block,
when I
yeah.
started playing guitar, you know, so I grew up playing drums through school in the band
You know when
class.
my parents bought me an amp when I graduated. Here you go. Get out of the house.
Get out
Have a
now.
Marshall. Thank you.
Yeah,
I hate that
Goodbye.
you're moving into an apartment. Here's a housewarming gift. Piss off your neighbors
So
there.
there you go. That's when mine bought an amp for me. So yeah.
Yeah, I never had an amp bought for me, but
And I paid for all my amps, and then unfortunately turned around and pawned them, like trying to road trip to Tennessee to get drunk for a week with some people I hardly
Well, you know,
knew,
sometimes
you know.
things are important, and then later in life they might not have been.
They're not as important.
That's my biggest regret as far as instruments goes. I let a lot of guitars and amps and shit go in the name of alcohol and shit like that when I was young, just partying and having
man.
fun. You know, it's like, fuck, man, I've only played this thing like 3 times. Here you go. You got a bottle of whiskey? I'll take it from you.
Ace Frehley has one guitar left from the '70s, and it's an Ibanez Destroyer that's going for $300 grand right now.
Oh, wow.
How bad do you think he wishes he didn't piss his away in the fucking pawn shop in 1982?
Yeah.
yeah. So
If he had one of those tobacco burst Les Pauls, they'd be going for $1 million.
Ooh, isn't that crazy?
So,
man,
yeah,
That's
all,
so
all
yeah.
smoke bomb, fucking corroded and shit.
Jesus
That'd be
heavy,
cool.
heavy guitars.
Trying to give me a heart attack.
But yeah, when you got into guitar, where did you gravitate toward?
Yeah, so growing up, I fell into the whole heavy thing. I think Van Halen was the first cassette we had. I remember cutting off the jean shorts,
Like 84,
wearing
1984?
wearing the red bandana. Yeah, because I'm 37,
Down,
so.
or, yeah.
I was gonna say, oh, you 812, you big
Ah,
wussy!
51,
You big wussy!
rolling down the street with the boombox on my shoulder,
Ah,
and I grew up with a lot of, I kind of fell into the skateboard community, and the guy that I grew up with in Texas was a drummer for his brother's band. They were a Metallica cover band. He was
Oh, nice.
like 12 or 13, so I, gravitated towards the drum kit. And then when I moved to Hawaii, I landed on the guitar, and there, I never had the money to afford an electric, so I was an acoustic guy. I was
Yeah.
finger picking and, like I said,
Okay, good
soft
stuff.
chords, and more about the composition of the song and
Yeah.
getting the 3 parts down.
Yeah!
And,
3 parts. You need to bring us 3 parts.
and,
You need to bring us up. Bring 3 parts.
I'm all over the map. My first concerts were Slayer and Testament in Alaska, and
Nice.
I
Nice.
played a lot of sports, so I
Did
grew
the
up.
Alaska melt when
grew up-
Slayer and Testament
Oh, dude,
blew
it was-
through there?
That was the first time I got thrown over the wall crowd surfing.
Oh,
I was like,
man.
I'll go stand in the back because I was only 4 or 5, 90 pounds in this huge rock show in the middle of Anchorage, Alaska. So
Nice.
I was like, I want to just go in the back and just watch what they do on stage instead of being a part of.
That's
Of all
good.
that.
That's funny.
Offspring
Too
carried
small
me
to
in
be
that
a
too.
mosh
Offspring
pit,
and Bozeman.
but-
Wherever they
That would have
carried
been a good one. I
But
like
I'm all over
Offspring.
that. But love
They
that
got some
band
longevity.
for you know the amped up kind of adrenaline rush. And
Yeah.
Martin Sexton's a big idol of mine. He's a really awesome acoustic finger picker. You know, Lindsey Buckingham, all those guys, James Taylor, Jim Croce, Jeff Buckley.
No.
You know, I fall asleep to soundscapes on Pandora, so I like the lighter side of stuff. And then when I need to get a little bit raged up, I
Music
You break out your
Right,
five.
yeah.
You break out your 5-finger
And
death
that's
punch.
Oh,
why-
yes, my
that's-
Nickelback band.
that's you know, Three Doors
Give me
Down's
my
a big
Nickelback,
band for me.
bitch.
I love those deep, you know, Seether. I love those deep guitar parts and
Oh,
the
yeah.
vocals that you can understand that really
Yeah.
build.
I'm a
the
Seether
emotion.
fan. Hell
Yeah, where you can
Emotion
actually
of the
feel what they're
song.
trying to say.
Gasoline,
in
like
the
gasoline
voice.
isn't. I mean,
Seether's
burn your
one of my
house
favorite
down.
bands. I
Hell
saw them
yeah.
at Metro
Yeah.
Park with Seven Dust. I got to hang out with Seven Dust twice.
Yeah, Seven Dust good guys too.
You know, I was set up stages when I was 18 at the Metro Park, and they come up to me and wanted to party in the back room, and I was like, man, I got to work and break down. 5 years later, with 37 Clark, we roll into Casey's Golden Pheasant for open mic, and there they are sitting at the table. So
Nice.
we hung out with them on their bus that night, got free tickets backstage to the show at the Shrine, and hung out with them for a day, partied at the 11:45 and whatnot.
Nice.
So. But yeah, my guitar playing is just kind of all over. I just want to write good songs. I don't really laugh, you know.
You got like
I don't
you're like
really-
a James Hetfield bag of riffs kind of guy. Or
Yeah,
or
and
you just-
I think I
you know.
do. I've got a lot of stuff that's you know that's not finished, and
Do you-
some
do
of
you-
it I
I mean,
brought to
we're
the
gonna-
band, like Sweet
We're
Talk.
gonna work
and
on some stuff. Not
Sweet
sure.
Talk and No Plan Stand.
Do you, when you come up with like, I mean, most of the time when I came up with one, I would be playing a song, a cover tune, or I'd be playing a riff of somebody else's, and then I'd be just like, okay, there's 5 notes with that progression, and then I just start working different things backwards, upside down,
Yeah,
around,
see, and
inside
I'm
out.
kind of the exact opposite. I play
Try
in a cover band.
tried a little bit different tempos or different you know, key maybe or
Sure,
and,
capo it
yeah,
up.
and then you
something.
can, and then you just come up with a little something. It's you know, it's rooted in that song that you knew or whatever, or
Yeah,
that
But
artist.
you
But,
found your own variation.
but it
to
was just you
make
messing
your
around
own.
with that kind of in that spot.
See, and I always put myself as the guy that didn't want to learn cover songs because
I hated
I had a
it.
guitar player that was
Yeah.
all into the Guns N' Roses and all that stuff, and his guitar riffs kind of just sounded like that way too
Yeah.
much.
Taking
so
Slash all over
I-
and over.
yeah,
and
Yeah,
over
it's
and
just
over.
I
it's
just
like,
amazing
you know,
I
one
try to
guitarist,
learn a
but-
lot of.
people can do an amazing job on a cover tune, just an outstanding job, and Zeppelin did it better.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's
You know,
the
it's
truth.
just-
That's
yeah,
it. You
I
ain't
didn't-
no
I didn't
Zeppelin.
wanna
Because those
Good
things
job.
are so set in time for most
they wrote
people.
it.
That's
You know
it.
what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's what it is. It's a set in time, and the first time you heard it, you were 16, and you were, you know, getting finger banged your girlfriend for the first time. You know what I mean? So it's that setting in time, and that's why nothing is ever going to be that good, because
Yeah.
it doesn't have all that stuff attached to it. It doesn't have all that mystery and
Yeah.
you know, and,
Yeah.
and exploration still.
Problem
attached
is,
to it.
these kids
You know?
now are having those moments that you just said to those covers,
Yeah.
and they don't know any effing
They
better
don't know who
because
did
they're
it
like,
best.
"Wait,
Who
what do you
did it
mean?
originally?"
This is Kid Rock didn't write this song?"
Yeah.
It's like, no, honey.
You mean to tell me that's not a Godsmack original?
Yeah,
Rocky
yeah,
Mountain
right.
Way was not
Yeah,
by
so
Godsmack.
those moments are unfortunately they're feeling
made
that
that
to
up.
the cover song
Yeah.
now generations later.